The Italian leather dress shoe connected with Isabel's ribs with a force that stole her breath before she could scream. She crashed into the Chanel display case, crystal perfume bottles exploding around her like fragmented dreams as she hit the polished marble floor. Her elegant black dress tore at the shoulder, her head cracked against the glass edge with a sickening sound, and warm blood began trickling from her temple. For a moment, one suspended, terrible moment. The entire gallery's Lafayette luxury wing went deathly silent. Isabel looked up from the floor, her vision blurring, Christmas lights dancing like cruel stars above her, at the man standing over her with pure, unfiltered hatred twisting his features. Connor Marshall, her ex-boyfriend. The man who'd nearly killed her 3 years ago. "Stay down where you belong, you worthless bitch," Connor snarled, his voice dripping with the same venom she remembered from that night in the hospital. "Thought you could just walk around like you matter now?" He had no idea who she was anymore. No idea that the broken, terrified woman he remembered, the one who'd lain in a hospital bed with broken ribs and a fractured jaw, the one who'd cried silently while her mother held her hand and her father demanded justice that never came. The one who'd spent 2 years afraid to leave her apartment was gone. No idea that she'd risen from those ashes like a phoenix reborn in fire. No idea about the platinum wedding band hidden beneath her leather glove, the Tuscan villa she'd left that morning, or the black American Express card in her Hermes purse that had no limit. And Connor definitely had no idea about the man whose name was now legally attached to hers. The man whose security team was currently holding him in place with iron grips. The man whose phone was ringing in her blood-stained purse right now. Aladino Baccio. Her husband. Europe's most feared mafia kingpin. The man who'd once told her, "You are my heart, Principessa, and I would burn this world to ash before I let anyone hurt you again." As Isabel's trembling, bloodied fingers accepted the call and Aladino's deadly calm voice asked, "Principessa, are you hurt?" She watched realization begin to creep across Connor's face like a death sentence being read aloud. He just kicked the wrong woman. And in approximately 7 minutes, when Aladino's black convoy screeched into the mall's underground parking garage, when those suited men in the distance reached them, when Europe's most dangerous man saw his wife's blood on marble floor, Connor Marshall was going to learn a lesson about consequences that would obliterate his entire existence. But he still didn't know it yet. Right now, in this moment frozen in time and violence, he still thought she was nothing. Still thought he could hurt her without repercussion. Still thought the world worked the way it did when his family's money made police reports disappear and hospital records get sealed. That was about to change forever. Before we dive deeper into this story of survival, love, revenge, and redemption, I want to take a moment to speak directly to you. If you've ever felt powerless, if you've ever been hurt by someone who claimed to love you, if you've ever wondered whether you'd ever feel whole again, this story is for you. This is about more than revenge. This is about a woman reclaiming her voice, her power, and her future. This is about justice not just served, but demanded. Now, do me a favor, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. Your support allows me to keep bringing you these powerful stories of resilience and transformation. Now, let's get into this dramatic, emotional journey. Because Isabel's story doesn't start with violence in a mall. It starts with hope. It starts with healing. It starts with a morning she thought would be ordinary. Isabel stood in their villa's expansive walk-in closet, her fingers trailing over the silk and cashmere that represented a life she sometimes still couldn't believe was real. Designer labels hung like promises kept, Valentino, Dolce & Gabbana, Chanel, but her hand kept drifting toward the simpler pieces. The black dress with clean lines. The understated elegance that didn't scream for attention. Old habits from harder times, she thought, a familiar ache settling in her chest. "Stay refacendo quella cosa," Aladino said from the doorway, his voice a low rumble that still sent shivers down her spine even after 18 months of marriage. "You're doing that thing again." She turned to find him already dressed in a three-piece black suit that was tailored so perfectly it looked like it had been sewn directly onto his body. He was devastatingly handsome, dark hair styled back with precision, strong jaw, eyes that could look at her with tenderness one moment and become a killer's eyes the next. His presence commanded every room he entered, even their bedroom. Doing what? She reached for pearl earrings, refusing to meet his gaze because he saw too much, always too much. Choosing the least expensive things in your closet. He crossed to her in 3 strides, sliding his hands around her waist from behind, pulling her against his chest. His touch was possessive but gentle, always gentle with her, even when the rest of the world saw only his brutality. "You're married to one of the wealthiest men in Europe, amore mio. Stop shopping in your closet like you're still that woman living in fear." The words stung because they were true. She laughed, but the sound was hollow. "I like simple things. Simplicity feels safer. I like spoiling you." He kissed her neck, his lips warm against her skin. "Seeing you draped in diamonds and silk. Watching other men realize you're mine and they'll never have you. Indulge me. You indulge me by loving me exactly as I am." She turned in his arms, cupping his face. Broken pieces and all. His expression softened in that way it only did for her, the monster becoming a man, the killer becoming a lover. "Non sei rada. You're not broken, principessa. You're acciaio, a steel that was forged in fire." But then something shifted. His eyes sharpened, his jaw tightened. "You're going to Paris today. To Galeries Lafayette." "Just some Christmas shopping," she said, trying to keep her tone light. "I won't be long. I'll be back before dinner." Something flickered in his eyes, that familiar overprotectiveness that she both loved and occasionally found suffocating, like being wrapped in velvet chains. "Take Lucas and Spencer with you." "Tesoro," she sighed, "I don't need bodyguards to go Christmas shopping." His jaw tightened, his hands gripping her waist a fraction harder. Isabel. Her full name, not Principessa or Amore Mio. That meant he was serious. "You know what I am. You know what I do. You know the enemies that creates. People who would hurt you just to hurt me." "I know." She did know. She'd known since the night he told her the truth about his empire, watching her carefully to see if she'd run. She hadn't. "You don't leave my sight without protection. Non-negotiable." The steel in his voice was absolute. This was Aladino Baccio, Don of the Baccio family, speaking now. Not just her husband. She cupped his face, feeling the tension in his jaw. "Okay, I'll take them." The tension left his shoulders immediately. He exhaled, pressing his forehead to hers. "Thank you. I know you think I'm being paranoid, but I can't." His voice cracked slightly. "I can't lose you, Stella Mia. You're the only good thing in my world. The only pure thing I've ever had. If something happened to you because I didn't protect you." He didn't finish. He didn't have to. "Nothing's going to happen," she whispered, even as a cold finger of premonition traced down her spine. "I'll be careful. I promise." He kissed her then, deep, possessive, desperate. Like he was trying to brand her soul with his. When he pulled back, his dark eyes were intense. "Come home to me. Always," she promised. She had no idea how much that promise would be tested in just a few hours. No idea that the past she'd buried would rise up in a Parisian mall and try to destroy everything she'd built. No idea that Connor Marshall, the man who'd nearly killed her once, was shopping at the same luxury mall, with the same entitled swagger, with no idea that the broken woman he'd left bleeding was now the wife of the man who could make him disappear without a trace. As Isabel boarded the private jet to Paris, Lucas and Spencer flanking her protectively, she looked back at Aladino standing on the tarmac. He raised one hand in farewell, his expression unreadable. She didn't know it yet, but that image, her husband standing alone, watching her leave, would be burned into her memory forever. Because in 7 hours, he would see her bleeding on a mall floor. And Connor Marshall's world would end in screaming, sirens, and the cold fury of a man who'd finally found something worth killing for. The Galeries Lafayette was a cathedral of wealth and Christmas magic. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow prisms across polished marble floors. Gold garlands wrapped around marble columns like promises of joy. Isabel walked through it all feeling elegant, safe, free, her black dress flowing, Lucas and Spencer maintaining their discreet distance, her heart light for the first time in years. She was just another wealthy woman Christmas shopping in Paris, and for once, she let herself believe that's all she was. The Chanel boutique beckoned with its display of evening gowns that shimmered like starlight. She was reaching for a silk scarf, something simple, something her. When she saw him across the marble floor, Connor Marshall, 3 years older, still handsome in that cruel, privileged way. Designer suit, confident swagger, and on his arm, a blonde woman dripping in diamonds, laughing at something he'd said like he was charming instead of monstrous. The scarf slipped from Isabel's fingers. The world tilted sideways. She couldn't breathe. Her chest compressed like someone had wrapped iron bands around her ribs and was squeezing. Vision tunneling to a pinpoint. Hands shaking so violently she had to grip the display case to stay standing. Her heart hammered against her ribcage, the same ribs he'd broken, the same body he'd destroyed. His fists. Hospital lights. Her father's anguished face. "You made me do this, Isabel. Why do you make me so angry?" Blood on white sheets. Her mother's tears. The police officer who looked at Connor's family name and quietly closed his notebook. "These things are complicated, miss." "Signora." Lucas was beside her instantly, his hand hovering near her elbow. "Are you unwell?" She couldn't answer. Couldn't speak. Could only stare across 50 feet of marble at the man who'd taught her that love could feel like dying. And then Connor looked up. Their eyes met. For one moment, shock. Recognition flickering across his handsome face. Then something uglier. Something that made her blood run cold. Rage. Pure, undiluted rage, as if she'd done something to him. He said something to his girlfriend, his lips moving in that familiar dismissive way, then started walking toward Isabel with aggressive intent. Each step deliberate. Predatory. Like he had every right to her space, her peace, her existence. "Signora, we should leave." Lucas moved to block Connor's approach, his hand inside his jacket where she knew he kept his gun. But Isabel was frozen. Every instinct screaming run, but her feet rooted to marble like she was that terrified girl again, cowering in the corner while he towered over her. Well, Connor's voice cut through the Christmas music like a blade. "Isabel Giles. Didn't expect to see trash like you in a place like this. If you're feeling this tension, if your heart is racing, hit that like button. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Your support keeps these stories alive. Connor." Her voice came out broken, barely a whisper. "I have nothing to say to you." "Nothing to say?" His laugh was ugly, loud enough that nearby shoppers turned to stare. "You ruined my life, you lying bitch. Told everyone I was some kind of monster. Made me look like you are a monster." The words escaped before she could stop them, and she watched his face twist with fury. "Sir, step back." Lucas moved between them, but Connor shoved him aside with surprising force and grabbed Isabel by her arm, his fingers digging into the exact spot where he'd once left bruises that lasted for weeks. His touch, after 3 years of healing, after 3 years of Aladino's gentleness teaching her that hands could comfort instead of destroy, it shattered something inside her. Let go, she tried to pull away, but his grip tightened, and suddenly she was 26 again, trapped, powerless, nothing. "You should have stayed gone," Connor snarled, and then the kick came fast and brutal, his Italian leather shoe connecting with her ribs with a force that lifted her off her feet. She crashed into the Chanel display case. Crystal perfume bottles exploded like her world ending. Glass shredded her dress, her skin. Her head cracked against the edge with a sound that echoed through the suddenly silent mall. Blood. So much blood trickling from her temple, warm and sticky, pooling on cold marble beneath her cheek. The last thing she saw before the pain consumed her was Connor standing over her, chest heaving, face twisted with satisfaction, and Lucas tackling him to the ground while Spencer's phone was already at his ear, speaking rapid Italian. "Calling Aladino. Calling down judgment. If this story is breaking your heart the way it's breaking mine, please share it. Someone needs to hear that survival is possible, that justice exists. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens when Aladino arrives." Connor Marshall had 7 minutes left of thinking he'd won. 7 minutes before everything he knew turned to ash. Isabel lay on the marble floor, Christmas ornaments scattered around her like shattered dreams, blood pooling beneath her head. The pain in her ribs was familiar, a ghost from 3 years ago come back to life. Lucas had Connor pinned face down, knee in his back, while Spencer's fingers flew across his phone. Speaking urgent Italian, she couldn't quite process through the ringing in her ears. Then her phone vibrated in her purse. The custom ringtone she'd set just for him. Aladino. Her hands trembled so violently she could barely grip the phone, blood smearing across the screen. Hello, Principessa." His voice was eerily calm. That terrible, deadly calm that meant he was already moving, already calculating, already preparing to dismantle someone's world. "Are you hurt?" She wanted to lie. Wanted to protect him from this ugliness, from her past. "I'm fine, just a small." Isabel. Her full name again, but this time his voice dropped to lethal quiet, each word a bullet. "Are you hurt?" The tears came then, hot and ashamed. "Yes." A pause. When he spoke again, his voice was barely controlled rage wrapped in ice. "Where is the blood?" He already knew. Spencer must have sent photos. But he needed to hear it from her lips. "My head, my ribs." Her voice cracked. "Aladino, it's..." "Who touched you?" The silence stretched between them, Paris to wherever he was, and she could feel his fury vibrating through the phone line like an approaching earthquake. "Connor," she whispered. "My ex-boyfriend Connor." The silence on the other end was more terrifying than screaming, more terrifying than threats. It was the silence of a man deciding how someone would die. "Finally, I'm 7 minutes away." His voice was steel. "Put Spencer on the phone. If your heart is breaking right now, if you feel her fear and his rage, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment with your country. Let me know you're here for this journey." Spencer took the phone, his face draining of color as he listened to rapid Italian. "Si, Don Butcho. Capisco. Lo Turimoka." He glanced at Isabel with something like pity, then at Connor with something like satisfaction. The Don says do not let that man leave, Signora. Security is holding him. Mall security had arrived, 3 guards looking uncomfortable as they surveyed the scene. Blood, broken glass, a woman bleeding, a man pinned to the ground, and 2 very professional, very armed bodyguards who clearly weren't mall employees. Connor's girlfriend was screaming about lawsuits, assault, police. Connor himself was shouting through his pinned position, "Arrest her bodyguards. She attacked me. She's crazy. I barely touched her." Isabel pushed herself up to sitting, pain shooting through her ribs, those same ribs he'd broken before, and looked at Connor with clear eyes for the first time in 3 years. And she realized something that made her want to laugh and cry at the same time. He has no idea who I married. "You shouldn't have done that, Connor," she said quietly. He managed to turn his head to glare at her. "What, finally defending yourself? Where's this confidence coming from?" His sneer was ugly, familiar. "Find another rich man to leech off of? That's always been your talent, hasn't it? Playing victim until—" Something like that, she interrupted, and this time she did laugh, a broken, waterlogged sound. Something exactly like that. Connor had no idea that in 6 minutes, his entire life would end. That the man she'd married wasn't just rich. He was powerful. That Aladino Butcho didn't call lawyers or police. He called men who made problems disappear. The mall continued its chaos around them, shoppers filming on phones, security trying to establish order, Connor's girlfriend demanding someone call real police. But Isabel just sat in her pool of blood and broken glass, waiting. Waiting for her husband to arrive. Waiting for Connor to finally understand what real fear felt like. Share this if you believe in justice. Like if you're ready to see him pay. Then they came. The atmosphere shifted before Isabel even saw them, like air pressure dropping before a storm. Shoppers instinctively moved aside, conversations died mid-word, even the Christmas music seemed to lower in volume. And then they appeared. 6 men in black suits walking through Galeries Lafayette like a death squad on a mission, crystal chandeliers glittering above them like stars witnessing an execution. And at the center, leading them with the confidence of a man who owned the ground he walked on, Aladino Butcho. He was devastating in his tailored black suit, every line perfect, every movement controlled, but his eyes. God, his eyes were dead. A killer's eyes. The eyes of Europe's most dangerous man who'd just been told someone hurt his wife. Everyone recognized predators when they saw them. Security guards stepped back. Shoppers pressed against walls. Even Connor's girlfriend went silent. Aladino's gaze swept the scene, took in the blood, the broken glass, Isabel on the ground, Connor pinned and struggling, and something terrible crossed his face. Not rage. Worse. Purpose. He walked straight to Isabel, ignoring everyone else like they didn't exist, and knelt beside her with devastating gentleness. Amore mio. His voice broke on the words. Let me see. His hands that had killed men, that had broken bones and ended lives, touched her face like she was made of porcelain. Examining the cut on her temple, the blood in her hair, the way she held her ribs. His fingers came away red with her blood, and she watched something shift in his expression. Who is he? It was barely above a whisper, but everyone in that mall corridor heard the death sentence in it. My ex-boyfriend. Tears streamed down her face. Aladino, I never told you everything. Tell me now. He helped her stand, supported her weight completely. Tell me everything. If you're crying right now, you're not alone. Comment below and tell me, have you ever had to tell the truth you've been hiding? Subscribe to see how this love story unfolds. In the mall security office, Aladino sat her down gently, dismissed everyone except his men, and waited. Just waited with infinite patience while she finally told him what she'd been too ashamed to share. Connor's escalating abuse over 2 years. How he isolated her from her parents, Gabriel and Juliet, who'd warned her, who'd begged her to leave. The emotional manipulation. You're too sensitive. You're imagining things. I only get angry because I love you. Black eyes she explained away as clumsiness. A broken wrist that was from falling downstairs. And then the final night. The night he beat her so badly she spent a week in hospital. Broken ribs. Fractured jaw. Internal bleeding. Her father's anguished face when he saw her. Her mother unable to stop crying. The police report that got filed, then quietly dropped when Connor's family lawyers arrived. How she'd lost everything, her apartment, her job, her sense of safety. 2 years of therapy. 2 years of being afraid of shadows. I eventually started traveling, she whispered. Ended up in Florence. Met you at that gallery opening. You were looking at a painting of a phoenix and you said, "Beauty born from destruction," Aladino finished, his voice rough. I had no idea I was looking at one. I never told you because I was ashamed. Her voice broke completely. I didn't want you to see me as broken. As weak. As... He pulled her into his arms, and she felt him trembling with barely controlled rage. "Non sei rota," he said in Italian first, then English. "You are not broken. You are acciaio e steel. Forged in fire." He pulled back, cupped her face, his dark eyes burning. "And he will burn for what he did to you." His rage wasn't hot, it was ice-cold, calculated, terrifying. He turned to his men, switched to rapid Italian. Find out everything about Connor Marshall. Family, business, finances, secrets, crimes. I want his entire life documented by morning. Every sin. Every victim. Everything. His lieutenant Kingsley nodded, already working his phone. Aladino stood, buttoned his suit jacket with terrifying precision, and looked at Lucas and Spencer holding Connor. Bring him. They dragged Connor into the security office like a sacrifice to an altar. Aladino stood by the window overlooking the mall, hands clasped behind his back, seemingly calm. But Isabel could see the tension in his shoulders, the coiled violence waiting to strike. Connor still didn't understand. Even bleeding, even pinned, he had the audacity to bluster. "Do you know who my family is? My father will have all of you arrested. You can't just..." Aladino moved with viper speed. One moment still, the next he had Connor by the throat, lifting him off his feet, slamming him against the wall hard enough to crack the plaster. Connor's feet dangled, his face turning red as he clawed uselessly at Aladino's iron grip. "My name," Aladino said with terrifying quiet, "is Aladino Baccio. Do you know this name?" Connor's eyes widened. Recognition. Then pure, primal terror. "The woman you kicked like a dog is my wife." He tightened his grip slightly. "Do you understand what that means?" He dropped Connor, who collapsed gasping, clutching his throat. "It means you just signed your death warrant." "I didn't know." Connor scrambled backward like a crab, all bravado gone. "I swear I didn't know she was married to." "Married?" Aladino's laugh was chilling, devoid of humor. "You think I'm angry about a legal document?" He crouched down, eye level with Connor, and Isabel saw her husband transform into the monster Europe feared. "No. I'm angry because you destroyed the woman I love years before I found her. Because you beat her. Hospitalized her. Made her afraid to live." He pulled out his phone, showed Connor the photos Spencer had sent, Isabel's hospital records from 3 years ago. Her battered face. X-rays of broken bones. Medical reports documenting internal bleeding. These are from when you put her in the hospital. Broken ribs. Fractured jaw. Internal bleeding. Connor's face went ashen. She told you. The kick came fast and brutal. Aladino's dress shoe connecting with Connor's ribs in the exact spot he'd kicked Isabel. The sound of bone cracking echoed through the small room. Connor's girlfriend screamed. Security guards looked away. Nobody moved to stop Aladino Butcho. Nobody could. If you believe abusers deserve to face consequences, hit that like button. Comment your country. Let's build a community that stands against violence. Aladino crouched beside Connor's writhing form, speaking in that deadly calm voice. Let me explain something about my world. I control this continent in ways your privileged mind cannot comprehend. I own politicians, police, judges, banks. I have men who kill without question. He grabbed Connor's hair, forcing his head up. That woman bleeding in the other room, she's the only thing I value more than power. So when you kicked her, when you made her bleed, when you triggered her trauma, you set in motion events that cannot be stopped. Tears streamed down Connor's face. Please, I will take everything from you. Your job, your family, your money, your freedom, your future. And when you have nothing left, when you're broken and desperate, I want you to remember this moment. Remember that you did this to yourself. He stood, straightening his suit with precise movements. But I won't kill you. Death is mercy. You'll live with what you've done. He turned to Kingsley. Pull up his information. Kingsley's fingers flew across his tablet. Connor Marshall, age 34, VP at Marshall & Associates Financial, father is CEO. Salary £180,000. Trust fund £2.3 million. Engaged to Harriet Wellington, daughter of Wellington Properties magnate. Aladino smiled, a cold, terrible smile. Does Daddy know his son is a woman beater? Does your fiancé know about Isabel? About the hospital? About the police report? Please don't. Connor sobbed. By morning, everyone will know. Aladino pulled out his phone, making calls in rapid Italian. Isabel watched his network activate across Europe like dominoes falling. Each call was brief, precise, devastating. If this is giving you chills, subscribe now. Share this with someone who needs to know that justice exists. Within 30 minutes, while they still stood in that mall, Connor's world began to crumble. His father received a detailed dossier, hospital photos, police reports, medical bills, Isabel's testimony, plus 2 other women who'd come forward after seeing the mall footage. Harriet Wellington received the same package with a note, "This is who you're marrying." 3 major European news outlets received anonymous tips with full documentation. Connor's trust fund was frozen pending investigation into credible allegations of abuse and assault. Connor was sobbing now, curled on the floor. You're destroying my life. Aladino looked down at him with eyes that held no pity, no mercy, no humanity. Good, he said simply. You destroyed hers. Now you understand. He walked back to Isabel, who was shaking not from fear, but from the overwhelming realization that someone finally believed her, protected her, avenged her. Aladino cupped her face with hands still trembling from violence. Andiamo a casa, principessa. Let's go home. You never have to see him again. As they walked out, Connor's broken sobs echoing behind them, Isabel felt something she hadn't felt in 3 years, safe. Comment below if you're crying. Tell me what justice means to you. And subscribe, because this story isn't over yet. The private car to the airfield was silent except for Isabel's occasional trembling breaths. Aladino held her the entire time, one arm wrapped protectively around her shoulders, the other hand clasping hers so tightly it almost hurt. She needed that pain, needed something real to anchor her to this moment, to remind her she wasn't back there, wasn't that helpless girl anymore. On his private jet, he dismissed the doctor waiting to treat her wounds. "I'll do it myself." The doctor opened his mouth to protest, saw Aladino's expression, and wisely retreated. Aladino's hands. Those same hands that had cracked Connor's ribs, that had promised destruction, moved over her injuries with surprising gentleness. Cleaning the cut on her temple with antiseptic, his jaw tight as she winced. Wrapping her ribs with careful precision. His fingers trembled slightly as they worked, and she realized, he's terrified. Not of Connor. Of losing her. "I'm sorry," she whispered. He froze, gauze in hand. "Principessa, for what?" "For not telling you. For bringing this into our life. For..." He stopped, framed her face with both hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. "You have nothing to apologize for. Nothing. Do you hear me?" Tears spilled down her cheeks. "But he hurt you. That's his sin, not yours." His voice was fierce, absolute. "You were his victim. Now you're his reckoning. But now you'll have to. I'll make sure he never hurts anyone again. This is what I do, amore. I protect what's mine." He pressed his forehead to hers. "And you're mine. Il mio cuore." My heart. If this kind of love, fierce, protective, healing resonates with you, please subscribe. Drop a comment telling me what country you're watching from. Your support means everything. Back at the villa, Aladino carried her to their room despite her protests that she could walk. In their bathroom, all marble and gold fixtures, he undressed her carefully, removing the torn dress, the bloodied undergarments, until she stood vulnerable before him. He led her into the shower, the water turning pink as it washed away blood and trauma. And then he did something that broke her. He washed her hair with gentle fingers, massaging her scalp like she was something precious. Soaped her body with reverent care, avoiding her wounds, but cleaning everything else with the tenderness of a man worshipping at an altar. No sexuality. Just tenderness. Just love in its purest form. And under that hot water, under his gentle hands, Isabel finally broke down completely. "I thought I was healed," she sobbed against his chest, water streaming over them both. "But seeing him, I was right back in that hospital bed. Right back to being that terrified girl who couldn't even defend herself." "Mia Stella," he murmured, holding her tight. "Healing isn't linear. Trauma lives in our bodies. It comes back when triggered. That doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human." "I still have nightmares sometimes," she confessed. "I still flinch before I can stop myself when you move too fast. And I'll spend every day for the rest of our lives showing you that my hands will only ever hold you, never hurt you." He tilted her face up. "You're not alone anymore, Principessa. You'll never face him or those memories alone again. If you've ever carried shame that wasn't yours, like this if you understand, share this with someone who needs to hear it." Later, he carried her to their bed and made love to her slowly, carefully, worshipping every scar, every mark Connor had left. Kissing the spot where her ribs had been broken. Tracing the faint line on her jaw where it had fractured. Transforming her shame into beauty, her trauma into tenderness. "You're beautiful," he whispered against her skin. "Perfetta. Every part of you." She cried through it all, healing tears, grateful tears, free tears. Afterward, wrapped in silk robes, they sat on their terrace overlooking Tuscan hills painted gold by sunset. Aladino poured wine with steady hands and told her what he'd set in motion. Connor's father had publicly disowned him in a statement to the press. "We do not condone violence against women." Harriet Wellington broke their engagement via Instagram with hospital photos attached. I will not marry a man who beats women. Marshall and Associates fired him to protect the company's values and reputation. His trust fund was frozen. His bank accounts seized pending investigation. The criminal investigation had been reopened with new evidence, and 2 other victims had come forward. Within 48 hours, he'll be unemployable, broke, and facing charges, Aladino said quietly. Isabel should feel guilty. Should feel like she'd gone too far. But all she felt was relief, deep, overwhelming relief. Does that make me a bad person? She asked. Aladino took her hand, kissed her knuckles. It makes you human, amore. He earned every consequence. You didn't destroy him, you simply stopped protecting him from his own actions. She leaned against him, watching the sun set on the worst day that had somehow become the beginning of real healing. Comment below, have you ever had to choose between guilt and freedom? Subscribe to see how Isabel transforms her pain into purpose. For the first time in 3 years, Isabel felt safe. Isabel woke to her phone vibrating so violently it fell off the nightstand. Aladino was already awake beside her, his own phone glowing in the pre-dawn darkness, his expression unreadable. Amore, he said quietly. You should prepare yourself. She picked up her phone with trembling hands. 127 missed calls. Hundreds of text messages. Social media notifications that wouldn't stop loading. The video was everywhere. #Galleries Lafayette Assault was trending across European social media, France, Italy, UK, Germany, Spain. 34 million views in 18 hours. Someone had posted the full security footage, Connor's vicious kick, Isabel crashing through the Chanel display in a spray of blood and crystal, his face twisted with rage as he stood over her broken body. But someone, Aladino's people, she realized, had also leaked the full context. Her hospital records from 3 years ago, photos of her battered face that made her stomach turn. The police report that had been filed then quietly buried. A timeline of abuse documented through medical history. And crucially, 2 other ex-girlfriends who'd come forward after seeing the footage, sharing their own stories of Connor's violence. The comments were overwhelming. She's married to a mafia boss and he kicked her? He's literally suicidal. The way her husband walked through that mall like death incarnate. Connor's a dead man walking. From abuse victim to mafia queen. This is the ultimate glow-up. He deserves everything coming to him. She survived, she thrived, she's free. If this story is breaking your heart and putting it back together at the same time, hit that subscribe button. Comment your country. Let's show survivors worldwide they're not alone. Messages flooded in from her past life. Friends she'd lost contact with during those dark years. Kate, Eloise, Amelia, Eva, Emily, all reaching out with love and support and tears. Then her phone rang, Maman. Her mother. Ma chérie, Juliette Tisserand's voice was thick with tears. We saw everything. The video, the news, all of it. Maman, we are so proud of you. Her father Gabriel's voice came through, breaking. For surviving. For building a life. For finding someone who protects you the way you deserve. We're coming to you, her mother said. We're already at the airport. We should have protected you better before, but we're here now. We're here. Isabel sobbed into the phone while Aladino held her, his hand stroking her hair. Aladino's identity was now public knowledge. Aladino Baccio, alleged Italian organized crime boss. Media frenzy everywhere. Mafia boss's wife assaulted by ex. His revenge is swift and brutal. Headlines in a dozen languages. Then Aladino's phone rang. He looked at the caller ID, smiled coldly, and put it on speaker. Mr. Butcho. Robert Marshall's voice was defeated, desperate. Please. Connor made a terrible mistake, but ruining his entire life. A mistake. Aladino's voice was ice. He beat your future daughter-in-law so badly she required hospitalization for a week. Then yesterday, he assaulted her again in public, in front of witnesses. These aren't mistakes, Mr. Marshall. This is his character. If you believe abusers' families need to stop protecting them, like this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear this conversation. Robert tried to pivot. What do you want? Money? A business deal? Name your. You insult me. Aladino's laugh was sharp. I have more money than your family will ever see. I don't want your money, Mr. Marshall. I want justice. Silence. Here are my terms, Aladino continued, each word precise. Connor will surrender to police on assault charges. He will plead guilty. He will enter a treatment program for domestic violence offenders. He will pay full restitution to Isabel and the other women he's hurt. And he will never come within 500 meters of my wife again. If he does, I won't call police. I'll call my men. Do you understand? A long, defeated pause. Yes. He'll comply. Smart decision. Aladino ended the call without ceremony. He turned to Isabel, his expression softening immediately. Come ti senti amore? How do you feel? She took a shaky breath and, for the first time in 3 years, maybe ever, told the complete truth, like I can finally breathe. He pulled her close, and she felt his smile against her hair. Then it was worth it. All of it. Outside their villa, the world was on fire with her story. But inside, wrapped in her husband's arms, Isabel felt something she'd never expected to feel again. Hope. Comment below if this gave you hope too. Subscribe to see how she transforms this pain into purpose. We're almost at the resolution, don't miss it. 1 week later, Isabel sat curled against Aladino on their sofa, watching Connor's televised statement. He looked broken, haggard, eyes sunken, the cockiness completely drained from his features. When he spoke, his voice cracked. I want to publicly apologize to Isabel Butcho, formerly Isabel Giles, for the pain and suffering I caused her. He looked directly into the camera. I abused her emotionally and physically over 2 years. I hospitalized her. I made her afraid to live. And last week, I assaulted her again in public. His hands trembled as he read from prepared notes. There is no excuse for my actions. I want to thank her husband for holding me accountable in ways the system failed to. I'm entering treatment for domestic violence offenders, facing criminal charges, and paying full restitution to Isabel and the other women I've hurt. Isabel waited to feel something: satisfaction, anger, vindication. But all she felt was peace. A profound, settling peace. He doesn't matter anymore, she whispered. Aladino kissed her temple. That's how you know you've won, Principessa. When they become irrelevant. The next morning, 200,000 euros appeared in her account. Restitution for therapy, lost work, her rebuilt life. She stared at the number, remembering the girl who'd had nothing, and an idea crystallized. I want to start a foundation, she told Aladino over breakfast. For women escaping domestic violence. Housing, therapy, legal support, job training. Everything I wish I'd had. His smile was genuine, reaching his eyes. Then we'll start a foundation. How much do you need? I was thinking 200,000 euros to start. I'll give you 5 million. He said it like it was nothing. We'll call it Phoenix Rising Foundation. Women who rise from the ashes of what tried to destroy them. If this vision of turning pain into purpose moves you, subscribe now. Comment where you're from. Let's build this movement together across the world. Christmas Eve arrived with snow dusting Tuscan hills. Their villa filled with an impossible mix. Aladino's family from Sicily, men with hard eyes and harder reputations, and Isabel's parents from France, her old friends, domestic violence advocates she'd contacted about the foundation. It shouldn't have worked, but it did. Because Aladino stood before dinner and made it clear, my wife's mission is now mine. We protect women. Anyone who harms a woman answers to me. During dinner, he rose again with his wine glass and the room went silent. Quest'anno, he began in Italian, then switched to English for Isabel's parents. This year, I found something I thought didn't exist in my world, redemption. His eyes found hers across the table. My wife survived horror I cannot imagine. And she didn't just survive. She conquered. She's teaching me that strength isn't just power and fear. It's vulnerability. It's rising after falling. It's choosing to help others instead of becoming bitter. His voice thickened with emotion. To Isabel, il mio cuore, my heart, my reason for everything. You made me believe in goodness again. She was crying. Her mother was crying. Even Kingsley, Aladino's hardened lieutenant, was blinking suspiciously fast. If you're crying too, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to know that love can heal even the deepest wounds. Later, alone in their bedroom, Aladino presented his Christmas gift, a leather portfolio. Inside, a deed to a building in Paris's Marais district. For the foundation headquarters, he explained. Already renovated, furnished, staffed. You can start helping women immediately, Principessa. She couldn't speak through her tears. He produced a second box. A necklace with a phoenix pendant crafted from diamonds and rubies, wings spread in flight. You rose from ashes, he whispered, fastening it around her neck. Never forget your power. Never forget what you survived to become this. They made love while snow fell softly on Tuscan hills, passionate, tender, healing. Every touch was worship, every kiss a promise. Thank you, she whispered against his chest afterward. Thank you for seeing me. All of me. Even the broken parts. He tilted her face up, his dark eyes fierce with love. You were never broken, amore mio. Just waiting to be seen for what you truly are, invincible. She fell asleep in his arms, the phoenix pendant warm against her skin, knowing that tomorrow she'd begin helping other women rise from their own ashes. Connor had tried to destroy her. Instead, he'd forged her into something stronger than he could ever comprehend. And now she would use that strength to save others. 3 months later, Isabel stood before the Phoenix Rising Foundation headquarters in Paris's Marais district, scissors poised over a red ribbon. The building was beautiful, creamstone facade, large windows that let light flood every room, a garden courtyard where children could play safely. Capacity for 30 women plus their children. A sanctuary. Aladino stood beside her in a tailored suit, his presence both protective and symbolic. Media cameras clicked, but the questions were different now. Respectful. How does it feel to transform your trauma into hope? What message do you have for other survivors? Isabel cut the ribbon and stepped to the microphone, her voice steady. I know what it's like to be beaten by someone who claimed to love you. I know the shame that makes you think it was somehow your fault. I know the fear that convinces you you'll never be whole again. She paused, finding strength in Aladino's eyes. But you will. You'll rise. You'll reclaim your life. You'll discover strength you didn't know you possessed. And you won't do it alone. That's what Phoenix Rising is for, so no woman has to rebuild herself in isolation the way I did. The headlines that evening were different. From victim to victor, Isabel Butcho's mission to save others. Mafia boss's wife turns tragedy into hope for abuse survivors. If this mission speaks to you, if you believe survivors deserve support, subscribe to this channel. Comment your country. Let's show the world how many of us stand with survivors. The first resident moved in that afternoon, a woman named Emily, 28, with 2 small children clinging to her legs and bruises still fading on her arms. Isabel helped her unpack in a bright, safe room that was hers. "You really survived all that?" Emily asked through tears, having heard Isabel's story. "The hospital, the fear, everything? And you really became this?" Isabel took her hands. "I did. And you will too. I promise. It won't be easy or quick, but you'll get there. One day, you'll wake up and realize he doesn't scare you anymore. That you're not just surviving, you're living." Emily sobbed, and Isabel held her, remembering when she'd needed those same words and had no one to say them. Like this video if you believe in second chances. Share it with someone who needs to hear that healing is possible. That evening, back at their Tuscan villa, Isabel's phone chimed. An email from an unfamiliar address. She opened it absently, then froze at the name, Connor Marshall. The message was long, pathetic, apologetic. He was in treatment, he wrote. Finally understood what he'd done. Hoped she'd found peace. Wanted her to know he was trying to become better. She read it once. Just once. Then deleted it. And felt absolutely nothing. No anger. No satisfaction. Not even contempt. Just complete indifference. He was irrelevant now. She'd moved so far beyond him that he wasn't even a memory worth keeping. Aladino found her on the terrace, overlooking hills painted gold by sunset. "Everything okay, amore?" "Everything's perfect." She smiled. Connor reached out. His jaw tightened immediately. "What did he say?" "I don't know. I deleted it without finishing." She turned to him, this man who'd helped her reclaim her power. "I don't care anymore. He doesn't matter." Aladino's smile was fierce and proud. "That's how you know you've won, Principessa. When they no longer matter." They stood together overlooking their empire, not just the criminal network that made him feared, but the foundation that would save thousands, the life they'd built from broken pieces. She was Isabel Butcho now. Survivor. Warrior. Healer. Wife to Europe's most dangerous man. Founder of a movement that would transform trauma into hope. Free from the past that had tried to destroy her. "What are you thinking?" he asked softly. "That I'm grateful. Even for the pain. Because it led me here. To you. To this purpose. I'm the grateful one, Principessa." He turned her to face him. "You taught me that power isn't just about fear. It's about protecting the vulnerable. Fighting for those who can't fight for themselves. You made me better. You made me more." They kissed as the sun set over Tuscany, 2 survivors who'd found each other in darkness and built an empire not just of power, but of purpose. And somewhere in London, Connor Marshall lived with his consequences alone, broke, disgraced, forced to face what he'd done every single day. A punishment worse than death. But Isabel didn't think about him anymore. She was too busy being happy. Too busy saving lives. Too busy rising. The phoenix, born from ashes, spreading wings of fire. Stronger. Fiercer. Unbreakable. And using her survival to light the way for others still trapped in darkness. If this story touched your heart, if it gave you hope or strength, please subscribe and share it. Comment below. What's your phoenix moment? When did you rise from the ashes? Thank you for joining this journey. Until next time, remember, you're stronger than what tried to break you. You are invincible.